Okay, so from where we left off, this is where we were. We had our UVs laid out one time. I just wanted to mention one thing really quick. This unfold does have a lot of settings for it, so if for some reason you are not getting the unfold results that you want, you can go into your menus, and let's see, again, they moved a lot of stuff around. So here's the unfold, and you go into the options, and they have a 3D, but there's also a legacy unfold, and there's just a lot of different settings, and we didn't get into those because this is just a brief overview, but sometimes that needs to happen. So I just wanted to let you guys know that if it doesn't unfold properly, you may need to mess around with it. This is a very robust tool set now. Maya's UV tools were just updated recently, so it's really good. They've improved a ton of stuff, it's very, very nice, and it was much needed, much needed. So I'm pretty happy about what they did. So let's get on to modeling more. All right. So one of the reasons why we want to keep it, kind of four sides, like I mentioned before, is it makes it so it's lighter, but there's also another reason too. So when we get into modeling more sections, we're going to find that it's easier if we have only four sides, because we can just take another four-sided extrusion off of here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to extrude out another face, but this face is rectangular, and that's going to look really weird. So when I go to extrude out my next face, I got to make sure that I cut. So I'm going to use my cut tool here, and I'm going to cut so that I have a square, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and just hold control, which will add an edge loop. As long as you're holding the control over one of these edges, you'll add an edge loop. So I'm going to just go ahead and click in there, and then holding control again, I'm going to click up a little higher, and there we go. Now I have basically a square face. That should work pretty good. And you can see the UVs updated automatically, and that's fine. And we won't need the UVs at this moment, so I'm just going to switch back to here, and let's go ahead and get into modeling this. So I'll hit Q on my keyboard to drop that tool, and I'll just select this. It's still a little bit more rectangular than I'd like, so actually I'm going to make one quick change, which is I'm going to turn on my transform constraint in my modeling toolkit. So you can see the modeling toolkit's up here on the right top, and it's all the way to the left side of these little menus that we have here. So I want to turn on this edge constraint or edge slide, like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch to edges. You can also switch the edges right here. By the way, you can, in the modeling toolkit, you can switch to verts, edges, faces, and there are hotkeys for it too. So you can actually hit F9 is verts, and F10 is edges, and F11 is faces, and then F8 actually gets you to the object level. So there's a few different ways to get it. All right, so as I said, we turn this on. Why? What does that do? I'm going to hit W on my keyboard, and I'm going to start moving this, and you can see that there's this little slide indication that goes right there. So this way, when I move this, it slides the edge on the other edges. Or for that matter, if we're using verts, it can slide the verts on the other edges. You can see it kind of goes all wonky, but it's basically taking that vert and sliding it across the other edges. So I got this thing looking a little bit more like a box. I use this transform constraint all the time. I use it a lot. You can also slide on the surface too as well. So it's something that I just tend to use a lot. So here we go. We got that one face selected, and I'm going to hold shift and select my my edge here, or my curve. Now you'll notice it's not selecting. Okay, it's a bug. Maya has a bug on that, so I'm just going to hit F8, go back to my object mode and deselect everything, and then reselect this object, and then go back into the polys. Oh, that's F11 to the polys, and now I'm going to hold shift and select, and it should let me select it. Or not, because it doesn't like me. Why not? Do I have my selection filter on? let's see here. You can actually filter what you can and can't select in Maya. And at the moment, I don't think there's any reason why I shouldn't be able to select that. Let's see here. So we're in faces, and I did this earlier, right? Let's go back to object mode. I'm not sure why it's not letting me select that. I've done this already once. You've seen me do it. I'm not sure what's changed. There we go. See, Maya's a little buggy with that. I've had that happen before, so I don't think I did anything different. Maybe the problem was though is that when it was like ray casting, basically trying to look at where my cursor was pointing in the viewport, maybe it just was missing that. I don't know. It just the ray didn't hit it. So anyway, now it's got it, so it's fine. So we can just hit extrude, and then this is just wash, rinse, and repeat from what we did before. Basically, we're just going to add some divisions in there. Not too many, not too little, you know, just what we need, basically, because we can always subdivide later too, so we don't have to put like a ton of them in there. So let's go ahead and leave it like that. Let's go to back to our attribute editor so we can mess with the curvature of this thing, and you know, maybe just do something like that. Okay, that looks fine. We don't need to beat this guy to death or anything. So now that we've got that laid out, we also want to lay out the UVs for this, but I'm going to actually hold off on that for a minute because I'm going to do these other sections, and I'm going to go a little bit faster now. So cut tool, hold control, get a square in there, grab the face, hold shift, click on the curve if it can actually hit the curve. It's not hitting the curve, doesn't like me, doesn't like life. Poor thing. Let's try it again. Face, hold shift. Oh, there we go, we got it. By the way, if the curve comes out blue and shows you the control points, you need it to be green. So you might come into a point where you get the control points and you see the blue curve with the like magenta control points. You have to click off of it and get it so it looks like this. Just word to the wise. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. It's going to go to the end of it. Same steps. Add some divisions. Add some taper. Play with it a little bit. Okay, looking good. Looking good. Okay, wash, rinse, and repeat. Let's do it one more time. And this time I won't even say what I'm doing because you've seen it enough. Now let's undo that. Let's make it a little bit more square. Okay. And select that. Shift select. Oh, it still doesn't like me, of course. It's a bug. What can I say? See, it does let me select it. Face. Let's do it one more time. Face. I wanted to make sure that I didn't accidentally hold shift and select this, because see how it says extrude? If I hold shift, it says extrude, because you can actually extrude out like that. And I wanted to make sure I didn't do that on accident. Okay, that's why I backstepped. Shift select that. And once I put divisions in this, it'll start to correct itself. We can curve this a little bit, like back that way. Taper it globally. All right, I don't like how this this area here looks, so let's talk about that. Let's grab some verts here, and I'm going to do what's called an average verts, which is up here. Average verts. And what that does is it averages the verts. Between the points here and the points here, it's going to basically average these verts, and between themselves too. But the problem with this is that they start to crunch in on each other. They kind of sink in towards each other. I'm going to just hit G on my keyboard to repeat that. I'm going to do it a couple more times. There we go. But now what I want to do is I'm going to actually kind of slide this back out here, like so. And now I'm going to use a tool that's in the same menu that the average verts was, which is transform. and I'm going to pull it along the z-axis, so the blue, and what that does is it moves each vert individually by its normal. So basically it's like pushing them all away from each other. So it's better than just scaling for a lot of things. In this case, it's better. So once I'm done with that, I probably want to add another segment in here. So I'm going to go to my modeling toolkit this time and turn on edge flow. So multi-cut, edge flow, hole control, and you'll see what edge flow does is it actually kind of adds a curvature to here. So I'm going to go like this. You can see how this is like, now it's curving. And since I added so many curves in, why not just take this one out, because I don't really need it anymore. Control backspace will remove the curve or the edge and the verts at the same time, like so. And there we go. So now we have that branch kind of going wild like that. That's not a bad branch, but I don't know if it's my favorite one. Now that I had the edge flow already set, so like it'll come back on, so be aware of that. I'm gonna just go ahead and just add a few more edges in here, because this is kind of, whoa, didn't know what to do with that one, huh? Wow, not good. No, not good. All right, so sometimes edge flow screws things up. There's one right there. So let's go ahead and turn off the edge flow. Just hit Control. I don't want to do too many. There's not really much reason to have a bunch of edges up here, other than I know when I subdivide it, it's going to look a little weird if it's not balanced. Okay. All right, so you can see this area right here. This looks like it tapers in a little bit too much, so I'm going to select that. Transform constraint. So I'm in my modeling toolkit, transform constraint. Turn the edge on, the edge slide, and I'm just going to slide that down a little bit so it looks a little bit better. Not too far. I don't want to make this thing too messy. That's fine. That'll be fine. Okay, watch this. I'm going to hit 3 on my keyboard. Look how nice that looks. Right? So even though I'm only using like a box, you know, if you hit 3 on your keyboard, it's subdividing it, and it's going to show you what it would look like smooth. So it actually looks good if you were to render it like this, which you can do. It's going to look really nice. Okay? So that's good stuff. Obviously in the game engine it would not, if you're going to a game engine, you don't have that smooth preview, so you can't really do that. But what you could do in the game engine is go to object mode, go to mesh display, and go soften edges. And now you look at it, even though it's not quite as high poly, it actually doesn't look half bad, even though it's actually boxy. Because when the player moves around it or whatever, it's still going to have a smoothing to it. Okay, so especially when you put texture on it, you probably won't even notice. All right, let's do the UVs. We gotta go back to the UVs. You go, oh no, not the UVs. Oh wait, I forgot. I keep forgetting I got this new thing here that I really like. So let's go back to here because this is great. And I got this channel box here. I'm gonna close that for now. And before I get started with this, why don't I save my file? Let's see, week 4. We'll call this tree 01. Okay, and close that, and then I'm going to delete my history. So I want you to see something. If I go to my channel box and I open that up, I've got this huge list of history. This is all the different things that I've done to this so far. I want that gone just to lighten up the system. I'm going to go ahead and hit that button right there, delete history. Now that's gone, and I can, even furthermore, I can go like freeze transformations. That's just basically going to zero out any translations, rotations, or scale. The scale doesn't get zeroed out though, it goes to 1. But basically, like, this is now its standard initial size, if you will. So now you don't see any more UVs in here because everything gets built off of this, but it looks flat in the UV view. But we're basically going to do the same process that we did before. Don't like this. Let's average that really quick. Average verts, and yeah, I can hit G if I want to do it again. Remember the same thing I did before. Transform, pull it on the Z-axis. See how it puffs it up? There we go. And I can actually grab all 4 of these hit G to repeat the transform, and if I wanted to puff this part up a little bit, I could, because sometimes you get a little knot, right? Especially where the branches come out. You can do that here too. Hit G, and you can just puff that up just a tiny bit, not too much. Okay, just ways you can improve your models. Okay, object mode. So let's go to actually edge. So I'm going to turn off this edge slide because I don't know if I'm going to need it right now. You can see though the edge slide actually works in the UVs too, which is nice. So first thing I want to do is I want to grab around the base where these things are extruding off of the main branch. Okay, then I can just do that for all of these if I want. People complain about UVs a lot. They are a bit methodical, especially at first. Once you learn how to do them and do them well, they're actually not that hard to do. It just takes some practice. It's just like anything else. I know it was really cumbersome at first, and the tools are so much better now though. So back in the old days, back when I was a kid, these tools, you had to remove the UVs with your teeth. All right, that was stupid, but that's all I got. All right, so anyway, so now that I've got that, typically I try to pick my seams to be whatever's I think it'll be the most hidden. So it's kind of hard to tell like what you'll see and what you won't see. I'm just gonna pick this like inner seam right here. I'm gonna shift click this once. Now this time, instead of shift double clicking here, actually I could just shift double click. It will just grab up to here, which is what I want. But there's also another thing, and I'll actually show you on the next one. So I'm going to grab the 3 like I did before at the top. So basically this becomes the hinge that it stays on, and then these split. And so it just hinges on that. So I'm going to do the same thing over here, but this time I'm going to show you another trick. So you can shift click this, right? Then you can come up to the top one over here and shift double click. And what it does is it draws the edge in between that. So if I had done it down here, actually I said draw, but it selects the edges in between it. So if I had done it down here, it would just go from here to here. Okay, so we click back a little bit and select those 3 edges and give it a hinge to open off of. And then we'll do the same thing here, and I'll show you how this works now. So if I was to grab, I gotta see the twist on this thing. If I was to grab here now and shift double click, you can see it didn't select the top one. It stopped right there. But we need that top one anyway, so that's fine. Now that I have all of these selected, like I do, all I have to do now is just go back to my cut. It's the same process. Okay, so we haven't learned anything new. We're just redoing what we did before, other than the selection tools. So cut, I just hit cut, and so all of these things, if I have them all selected correctly, they should be cut properly. And then I should be able to basically, watch this, I'm going to go face, and I'm going to double click in this viewport, this face, and you can see that it did not select these edges because they are split off now. If it did select them, then you didn't split all the edges. That means you didn't select all the edges and hit cut. Okay, so you may have to go back and look at that. All right, but now that I've got this done, I can actually come into this viewport, hit W, and just move this over like so. And so everything else was built off of these pieces. Now you can't see anything because I haven't laid them out yet. Let's put a planar map on it. Oh, we remember this, right? That's what kind of our planar map looks like. It's just laying those things out. Of course, we don't want that because now we just killed our seams. So let's undo that. So let's go back. Control Z. So what we're going to do, again, just like we did before, is just go to the Unfold tool and hit Unfold. And check that out. There they are, but they're like miniature. They're too small. Did we get all 3 of them? I'm only seeing 2. Maybe I'm missing 1. Let's see here. I'm going to grab this one too and hit Unfold. Maybe it's like buried here. Maybe I didn't cut properly. Let's see. Where's this going off on? F. Let's hit F on my keyboard. Yeah, I think I might not have cut this one properly. Okay, so that's my bad, right? So I did something wrong, so I have to go ahead and come into here, select these edges. I'm going to hit F on my keyboard so it frames that. Make sure I select all of these. This is probably what I didn't do. I probably didn't select these edges like this. So I'll select that one, and then I'll follow it up. Actually, I could just double click here, like so, and then I can just go boom, 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 grab 3, and now I just go ahead and break those edges by hitting cut. Again, cut, and we'll unfold again. So now what I want to do is, I can also, here, let me show you a little trick. Grab the top one here, hold shift and greater than, just keep tapping it. See what happens? Okay, shift greater than. If you want to shrink your selection, that's called grow selection, by the way. If you want to shrink your selection, hit shift less than. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Now we can see where it's at. It's probably sunken in here somewhere, and we don't even see it, but let's just hit unfold and it'll reveal itself. Or not. That's really weird. What's going on? So maybe it's somehow scaling really small. I have a feeling that's what it's doing. This is very strange. I'm going to put my checker on. Let's see what's going on here. Notice how these are, you see the checkers are way bigger on these than it is on this. So this is how their checker map, like you would want it to be nice and balanced and even like that. You want these to basically have the same like size squares on it. So I would want to scale these up to the point where the checker map matches on all of these. Like they're basically the same size. So we're almost there. Probably be easier if I line these things up like straight up and down. That's getting closer. Ooh, it's like jumping. You know what? The snap is on this thing too. I wonder if I hit a hotkey on accident and then turn the snap on. There we go. That's going to be better. Let me double click this. Let's rotate this straight up and down like so. Move it over. Move it up a little bit. Double click on this. Rotate it. Move it around. Okay. Now we can see that, yeah, they're pretty close. Now what's going on with this guy? This one does not want to play nice with me. And I'm not sure why. Let's turn this off. I'm thinking there's something screwed up with the UVs, so I'm just going to planar map this. Okay, sometimes you just, like, you can't figure out why you can't get it to scale properly. Okay, so I'll bet you what it is it's actually scaled at 0. Like the thing, for some reason, Maya brought it in scaled at 0. So unfortunately, that means you do have to go back through here, and if that happens, which that does not happen often, I've not had that happen too often. But if that does happen, then you have to come back in here and you have to just redo what we were doing, which that doesn't really take that much time. So boom, 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 and then let's go back to the toolkit, cut, and then we'll grab the faces here and hit unfold. Now, wow, that's huge. Like obviously that's got to be the smallest one, so let's go ahead and scale it down like that. Let's move it over here. And good idea to keep your UVs organized always. I mean, you don't have to, wait till you're done laying them all out and then organize them. Or, you can organize them as you go along, but sometimes you want to move them around anyway at the end. So now we have nice UVs laid out. Okay. Why was that so important? Like, why did we go through this painstaking process to lay out all these UVs? Well, I'm going to tell you. The reason why is because now, if I want to make like a more complex, system here, I can just take this and hit Control D and duplicate it, move it up a little bit, rotate it around, scale it down, rotate it however way I feel fit. Seems right. I can hit V on my keyboard and snap it to a vert over here. You know, keep getting it into a position that I like, and eventually I can make these more complex branches. And these UVs now are all laid out. Okay, they're all good. Maybe I don't want this to look exactly the same. Well, we still have all of our tools, like we can do our soft select. We can do a deformer on just a selection of vertices. Like you can just grab this selection of vertices and say, I'm going to do a deformer, nonlinear deformer. Let's do a bend again, because that seems to work pretty good. Maybe line the bend up a little bit with the branch. And let's see, we need this curvature here. And we need to turn low bound to 0. Oops, there we go. So you can start, you can make it curve differently. Let's see here. Oh, it's got to be in this viewport apparently. You know, you can mess with that. That seems a little cumbersome. Like what I would probably do is I wouldn't spend that much time doing that. I would actually just, I mean, you could do it. I just wanted to show that you could do that. But what I would probably do is, let's just delete that history off. So now that deformer's gone. You can just take like a lattice deformer and deform the whole thing at once. So you can just say like maybe 3 by 3 by 3 or something like that. 3, and then hit apply. And then close that. And then if you wanted to make this a little bit different. Now you don't have to go through and do this every time. Like a lot of times you won't even notice that things are the same or aren't the same as the other ones. Or are the same, that's what I meant. Sorry. A lot of times you won't notice that they are the same. It won't matter. So you can just, you don't necessarily have to do this. I'm just showing that you could. Okay, so like this, like so. Okay, you're just making this thing a little bit different than the last one. Now, of course, this will mess with your UVs a little bit, because like now, like if I went back into this object, the UVs will actually be the same, but what it will do is that you should really come back in here, grab these faces, and then do another relax or unfold. And you can see they shifted a little bit, but that's because basically the unfold bases it on what it's seeing in the 3D view. So now that I mess within the 3D view and then I unfold it again, it's gonna fix it and relax it based on what the actual size is. So now here's the thing. Why do I keep it these squares? There's another reason why. Well, if I want to attach these two things together, oops, I went to UVs on accident. All right, if I want to attach these two things together, I can just move this right here. Kind of slide it in there. Let's turn wireframe on shaded, which is right there. And well, look at how easy this would be just to select this, hold control, drop another face in there. Let's say face, delete that. Okay. And then from here, go to object mode, select this object, select this, select both objects together, and then just go combine. And now they're combined together. And then from here, we can go edge, double click, and shift double click this edge, and then just do a bridge. Oh, I didn't do a bridge. That wasn't the bridge. Wrong one. One more time. Shift double click and bridge. It's right next to it. Now you can see it doesn't look perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just double click on this edge and hit control backspace, which will get rid of the edge and the verts. But now you can see like that looks pretty good. And now you have like a more complex branch. All right, and basically trees and plants and stuff like that can just be this. You don't have to always connect everything to it. So what I'm trying to show you is kind of more of like a hero branch. Like if you needed to build a tree from scratch and it needed to be like really nice looking and stuff like that, you'd want to go through some of this stuff and like connect all these together. Now you can notice that there's a weird shading thing going on here. So I need to go back up to mesh displays and hit soften edge. And then that will take care of that shading, so it should be good. And then the other thing we have to look at is that it did do a little funkiness between the UVs, and I'll tell you why. That's because I deleted out that edge vert for this. So right here. So basically, if I wanted to fix that, I'm going to have to do something like this. Let's just roll my selection, shift greater than. And you can just actually hold it, but it's going to get, when it gets to here, you want it to stop. And then if I pull this, you can see, oh, it's connected. Like, that's not right. I don't want that connected. And we also need to shift, get all that stuff. So make sure you have everything. You can actually go ahead and just say cut from here. And then, oh, didn't do it. I'm sorry. You know what? I just forget everything I just showed you. Sorry. I was going into a different direction that I shouldn't have been going yet. Okay, so let's just grab these edges here. All right, that's all we have to do, and just hit cut. Sorry, that was way easier than I was thinking it. All right, so now face from here. Now watch this. I'm gonna show you a little trick. So let's say you just want to grab this shell, okay? The one that this is connected to. You can right-click on here. Actually, hold Control and right-click. And then say to UV shell. And then it just grabs anything that's within that UV shell. Now we just want to hit unfold again. Boom. It's all good. A little big, though. You want to make it so it's actually like all the checkers again, same size. And like that maybe. Okay, pretty close. Pretty good. It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't have to be like measured to the point of super precision that, as long as the textures look right together when you get the wood texture on in the end, you should be good. Okay, now you can see how these are overlapping each other. That's actually okay. You can have a texture on here and have these guys overlapped. As long as these are laid out flat, you can have them overlap. But what I would probably do, though, is just do something like this. So they fit together nicely if you flip them upside down. So double click. So you just move these off to the side because you get that little zigzaggy, these, I don't know how to say it. These things fit together because they're tapered. If you flip them upside down, they're tapered in opposite directions. So there you go. And we can just do this one like this too. Like that. And move that in there. So there you go. So now all these are pretty nicely laid out. And, hopefully UVs are not the bane of your existence. Some people don't like them, but when you get good at them, they're not that hard to do. They're pretty easy. All right, I'm gonna save this file, and that's it. Once you just keep repeating this, like, and if it's not a hero plant and most of it's gonna be covered with leaves and stuff like that, which we'll get into leaves later, then don't connect them all. But if you do need to connect them all, this is the way to do it. So, and if I hit 3 here, go to object mode, turn off the wireframe unshaded. Look at that. Looks pretty nice. Not bad. Not bad. Obviously, we'd want to lay some textures on there, and hopefully if it was a really important hero piece, like somebody was actually going to be sitting up in that tree, and you're going to have the camera right on them or something like that, then you'd probably want to paint the seams out and stuff like that, because you will have seams in your UVs when you get, when this thing wraps in the texture. So because since it wraps around itself, your texture needs to be tiled properly, and you have to use like a 3D painting program to do that. But that's a whole nother subject, and that's only if this is like a really important hero piece that the camera's going to be right on. Then it would be important to do that. If you're not going to get that close to it, you probably wouldn't see the seams anyway, so you wouldn't worry about it, especially if it's covered with leaves. So, okay, that's it for this. That's how you basically make a tree. Now, for an assignment would be to do something like this or similar, and put leaves on it, make like a little pot, bowl, something like that to put it in, make a little layer on top of the bowl that looks like dirt. Have we used a deformer that maybe has like a dirt look to it, and then have a nice little tree plant for our environment that we're going to create for our final. So that's going to be something we're going to do. All right, so that's that. And the assignment would be to at least get a small plant going. So the stems and a bowl and a little top on it. And none of that stuff should be too hard if you know how to do a revolve and use your curves and use little deformers for some dirt on a plane type of thing. By the way, if you're doing a plane and you want it to be in a circle, let's just show you this. Like you want to make it like dirt-like, you can use the circularize tool, which is, where is it? No. There it is. Look at that. So now we just took a plane, made it into like a circle, right? But what if your pot's square? Well, you do that too. But anyway, you can imagine you can put like a certain kind of deformer on here to make it lumpy. Go back to those tutorials if you've forgotten which one that is. All right, get to it. Enjoy. Have some fun. I know it seems like a lot, but it's actually kind of fun making plants. All right,